Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel, MD, General Physician. All my video lectures are mainly for educative purpose. They will be very useful to you in your oral exam, also sometime in your theory exam, and particularly for fourth year students. Today we'll be talking about journal examination. Meaning is very simple. When you are examining a person as a whole, right from head till toe, it is called journal examination. So we'll be highlighting little bit. It is a very long because each part of the body examination is a separate topic. Say like examination of only tongue, examination of nail, examination of eye, examination of oral cavity, etc. They are all to be examined in general examination. So you look at the eye, you listen, you look at the body temperature, you look for edema, you look for any skin changes, you look for any joint deformities, you look for any other general findings like hair, tongue, etc. All these are included in general examination. Meaning you start examining from head till toe. You just have a gross look at it and try to identify if there are any positive findings. And also you should look for what is not seen. So we always use what we call is in a physical examination. When you look, you are doing inspection. When you listen, you are doing auscultation. When you are feeling, you are doing palpation. And when you are producing a sound and you are auscultating, that is called percussion. So these are all the method which you use in a physical examination. Some of those you utilize while doing a general examination. And there is one more, what we call as you smell, that is called olfaction. Sometimes that also helps, say a peculiar smell from the oral cavity, like fetor hepaticus, uremic smell, sweet odor, or fruity smell in diabetic ketoacidosis, uremic smell in a end stage renal disease, fetor hepaticus in hepatic coma, a smell of a organophosphorus poisoning, smell of a kerosene in a poisoning cases. All this may be very helpful. So usually in a physical examination, we examine by inspection, palpation, percussion, auscultation. And while doing inspection, palpation and percussion, we don't require any particular tools. We don't require any instrument particularly. But while doing certain examination, here you don't require any particular instrument. While doing auscultation, you require a stethoscope and you require auscultation, that is ear. And this can be direct auscultation, indirect auscultation. When you do indirect auscultation, it is by using a stethoscope. And when you put your ear directly on the area and try to auscultate, that is called direct auscultation. This is rarely being done. This is direct auscultation. This is indirect auscultation. And these are all the instruments when you require. When you want to do a general examination or systemic examination, these are all right from pen light, we call indirect laryngoscopy, that is dental mirror, nasal speculum, ophthalmoscope, otoscope, percussion hammer, tuning fork, speculum, we call vaginal speculum, cotton applicators, disposable pads, gloves, lubricants, tongue depressors, and many more instruments. These are all required when you do a systemic examination, or sometimes even they are required in doing general examination. So these are some of the instruments. Most common what we require is a stethoscope, ophthalmoscope or otoscope, thermometer, of sharp pen-like torch, neurohammer, sphygmomanometer, pin, cotton, tuning fork, BP instruments, all those are being required while doing examination. And while doing eye checkup, you require a Snellen's chart. All these are included. And in a general examination, we usually say that you have to examine from head to toe. And during that, you may utilize any one of these: inspection, palpation, percussion, or auscultation. By and large, usually we utilize these three rather than utilizing auscultation. Very rarely, while doing a general examination, you utilize auscultation. So, in a general examination, it is the first step of physical examination. Inspection is a major part of it. You can combine in that palpation, smell, and even percussion. Initially, first, we always look for what we call as a level of consciousness, or we call general condition, state of nutrition, body habitus, posture, symmetry, speech, etc. This is at a glance we try to look at. We call level of consciousness, general condition. Usually we say general condition is good, poor, etc. Then nutritional status, body habitus, posture, what posture the person is lying down, symmetry, any speech disturbances while he is giving an answer. And then we go for examining from head till toe, which ideally includes examination of hair, that is scalp hair, examination of eyebrow, examination of eye. In that it includes eyelids, conjunctiva, cornea, sclera, then even pupil, in oral cavity, tongue, lips, gum, dental cavity, dentals examination, then even a soft palate, uvula, pharyngeal wall, tonsil, all those are included in oral cavity. Then in a neck, you look for lymph nodes, swelling, thyroid, etc. And when you come to the upper limb, nails, cyanosis, discoloration, jaundice. Even in eye, while looking at the sclera, you can look for jaundice, cyanosis, pallor. Then you can look at the hair fall, loss of lateral eyebrow, very characteristic in a myxedema. Then in a nail, you can look for clubbing, platinikia, koilonychia, brittle nails, white lines, clubbing. These are some of the things which will be very useful in clinical side. You look for cyanosis, you look for jaundice. In oral cavity, you can even smell, and I already mentioned fetor hepaticus, uremic smell. In uremia, fetor hepaticus in hepatic coma. Fruity smell in case of diabetic ketoacidosis. Kerosene or organophosphorus smell in case of poisoning. These are some of the peculiar smell which you can identify very easily by smelling. You can have temperature, lymph nodes examinations. In general, even if they are not present, you should mention pallor, cyanosis, edema, body temperature, jaundice. Some of these things are necessary even when they are not present, they are not seen. But still you can mention there is no pallor, no cyanosis, no jaundice, no icterus, lymph nodes are not enlarged, body temperature is normal. These are some of the things which are commonly being mentioned. We call negative findings. And when you want to mention the physical appearance, height, weight, and build is compared with the standard charts. Then physical development, sexual development, posture you can examine, gait you can look for, motor activity if it is seen, involuntary movement particularly. You can look at the hair, nails, skin appearance. dressing, personal hygiene. I already mentioned regarding odor, etc. Facial expression and speech. So you can find out obesity, cachexia, particularly marasmus, Korsakoff. You can identify some of the abnormal gaits. Here you can check for the height. Here you can check for the weight and try to find out whether person is normal weight, underweight, or he is obese, moderately obese, severely obese, etc. You can identify. You can have a look at the posture. There can be some peculiar posture like kyphosis, scoliosis, kyphoscoliosis, gibbous, etc., which can tell you little bit regarding the spine problem and some of the disorders which are underlying. And in a decubitus you can find rigid dorsal decubitus posture, lateral decubitus posture, opisthotonus, orthopnic posture, prayer posture, squatting posture, tripod posture. These are some peculiar posture which are being said. I'll mention few of them. Orthopnea will be very peculiar in a left ventricular failure. Squatting posture will be quite common in case of a Fallot's tetralogy who are having cyanotic spell. Tripod posture will be very frequently in a severe upper respiratory tract obstruction. Prayer posture will be seen in a person with a diabetes mellitus having a joint deformities. Opisthotonus will be very peculiar in case of a tetanus. Lateral decubitus posture will be quite frequently seen in a person who is having unilateral severe lung disorders like unilateral bronchiectasis, collapse, unilateral fibrosis, unilateral destroyed lung, etc. These are some of the conditions which you can suspect by looking at the decubitus. You can see this is a typical tripod posture, quite frequently seen in a person with an emphysema. Then this is a typical Fowler's posture or a sitting posture, again in a person who has got orthopnic posture. Then this is typical supine or prone posture. This is erect posture or standing posture. This is dorsal recumbent position. Good number of time person who is having an acute pain in abdomen like appendicitis, he will be maybe acquiring this particular posture. This is called Sims posture. This is lithotomy posture. Quite frequently when you are doing a certain examination, you ask for a lithotomy posture, and also while doing delivery. This is called knee chest posture. Sometimes the person acquires this knee chest posture, and we do ask the person to take this knee chest posture when you want to look for the minimal fluid in abdomen, and you do Poodle sign, and you want to also, in case of you want to differentiate aortic aneurysm from a mass sitting on the aorta, knee chest posture may be very helpful. When we do in alimentary system examination, we'll be coming across this particular thing. And in vital signs, you know very well, we look at the blood pressure, pulse, temperature. Usually we call temperature, pulse, blood pressure, TPR. Short form we always use temperature, pulse, blood pressure, and respiration. So TPR, short. Also you look for the pupil examination, which is included. Skin examination is also included. Level of consciousness is also included. And again in the blood pressure, we'll be discussing in detail in a separate vital signs. You can go for a ABP, what is called ankle brachial blood pressure, or ankle brachial pressure difference ratio. Then you look for all the different pulse, temperature. This is a breathing pattern we'll be dealing in detail when we talk about respiration, different types of respiration, etc. Then you look for the skin, whether there is dehydration or there is an edema. This is peculiar edema, and this is dehydration. You can see easily, you can pinch the skin very easily. So that is typical in dehydration. This is edema, picking on pressure. This will be lymphedema. This is what we call as a periorbital edema, quite common in an angioedema and in case of a nephrotic syndrome. This is again unilateral edema, which will be quite common in a lymphatic variety. Also in case of venous, we'll be doing separately in a edema when we do. When you look at the conjunctiva, you look for pallor, you can look for jaundice, you can look for cyanosis in a palm, you can look for pallor. This can be easily identified and compare with your own palm. This is central cyanosis. You can see lips are blue, tongue is blue, even what we call as a hard palate appears blue, lips are blue here. You can see mild cyanosis with clubbing. You can see little amount of peripheral cyanosis. You can see this peripheral cyanosis, and this is typical rash which you can see. This is central cyanosis. You can see a bluish discoloration. You can see a skin rash, different types of rash. This is vitiligo. This is we call raccoon eye. These are petechial hemorrhages. This is koilonychia. These are brittle nails. This is pallor. These are white lines. These are called Janeway's nodes, or splinter hemorrhages. Sorry, splinter hemorrhages. These are Janeway's nodes. And when you get a point here, that's are called Osler's node. This is subconjunctival hemorrhage. These are all the four findings classical in case of an infective endocarditis. This is clubbing. There are many causes of clubbing. You can look for, you can see here clubbing. This is clubbing with cyanosis. This is only clubbing. These are drumstick clubbing. You can say these are called drumstick clubbing. Very peculiar. These are typical nail, brittle nail, brittle nail. This you are measuring the skin thickness. This is cachexia. You can see a big swelling here, maybe a lymph node or maybe a secondary metastasis. This is tongue examination, big tonsil. These are gum hypertrophy. These are small ulcers which are seen in a hard palate. This is a peculiar sign. These are pigmentation. You are examining the oral cavity. This is a smooth ball tongue. This is a lymph node enlargement. This sign is called Frank's sign, which is considered as a sign of a end stage. This is, you can say, exophthalmos. This is peculiar acromegaly. This is cretinism. This is mixed edema. So from facial examination also, this is classical of what we call as a thalassemia or a beta thalassemia major. This is called chipmunk face, and on X-ray you will get hair on pin appearance, very characteristic. This is classical of a scleroderma, pursed lip. So I end my lecture here. These are some of the things. I've highlighted few of the photographs. Each area can have a long topic. Some other time we'll be discussing only on the tongue examination, nail examination. We'll be doing some other time. At present, I've taken few points in each area. So I thank you all for taking out time. I know that your time is valuable, and I appreciate you for spending some of the time with me. And I feel this will be helpful to you. If you find this is helpful to you, please subscribe, press like button, and also a bell button. And you can share with your friends.